There are three major categories of survival food that people generally put away for emergencies. We have MREs, we have ration bars, and then we also have freeze-dried meal packs. And all of these are used by organizations like the military and police, and of course, here in the preparedness community, for food you can rely on during a crisis. And so I thought I would go through and describe how I integrate each type of these survival rations into my preparedness plans. And of course, I do want to mention that Midway USA is the biggest supporter of the channel, and I actually have an article I wrote for them over there that describes this entire thought process. So let's go ahead and go through each category: MREs, survival ration bars, and freeze-dried meal packs. I'll tell you exactly how I use them, what some of the issues are when it comes to storage and things of that nature, and hopefully this gives you an idea as to what you might want to get in the sense of emergency food in case something were to happen. All right, first up, let's talk about everybody's favorite, the good old MRE, which I have a couple cases of MREs right here. And obviously, MREs are meals ready to eat. It means you don't have to prepare them, you don't have to cook, there's no boiling water or anything like that. And some of them even have heating elements inside that allow you to have the food hot, even though you didn't have to do anything to prepare it. So what I like about MREs is that they're very easy, they're calorically dense, they have a lot of balanced nutrition, and they keep you going during an emergency. Now, my approach to MREs is based on a few things. One of those things is the fact that these MREs generally have a shorter advertised shelf life compared to the other two options. So that's one consideration. The other thing that I have to consider using MREs is that they're more susceptible to temperature changes for a few different reasons. First off, they don't like getting cold and then getting warm again. They can be frozen, but if they're going to be frozen and then unfrozen or thawed multiple times through multiple cycles, a lot of issues can occur. It can ruin the flavor of the food. It can also break some of the seals and the pouches inside of the MREs, and then that obviously could lead to spoilage or spilling or whatever else it might be. And overall, it just hurts the integrity of the MRE itself, which is why it's not a good option to have in your vehicle or somewhere that's going to be exposed to the elements frequently at different temperature variables. And now, of course, they can also go bad from being somewhere that's too hot, and that can kind of affect any emergency food in all reality. You don't want to store food anywhere it's going to be overly hot, but especially in like a vehicle, it can get very, very hot. So how do I integrate MREs into my kit? I generally use them for backpacks, like this bug out bag you see right here. So for rucksacks, bug out bags, assault packs, whatever you want to look at when it comes to a backpack or how you're going to use it, that's where my MREs go. So I've got some right here. Nice and easy to get to in case you need to have a snack on the fly. And what I do is I break my MREs down to eliminate trash and to eliminate any excess bulk you don't need. And then you have meals that are ready to go without any preparation or outside requirements. So you don't have to cook, you don't have to make a fire, AKA you don't have to give away your OPSEC or tell everybody where you are. So if you're in a dangerous situation where you need a bug out bag and you're on foot, or you're in a dangerous situation where you have an assault pack on for some reason, right? You might not want to give away your location, which cooking with a fire can do and cooking with a stove can even do. So MREs are good at preventing giving away your OPSEC. The other thing that's nice about MREs is that, they're just ready to go. So it's fast, you can eat quickly, get back on the move and get to where you need to go. So I like MREs for that particular purpose. And because these things are going to be on me, then the temperature regulation isn't as much of a big deal. They're not just going to sit in a vehicle where it gets very cold and very hot. They're also not going to just be the only option I have at a cache location or something like that. So that is my approach to MREs. You want to break them down, of course, save weight, save on trash, don't have to leave breadcrumbs or anything like that, right? And then at the same time, have them in a system that isn't going to be exposed to the elements any more than, well, you are, right? And if you're in a bug out situation where your backpack is literally on your back, wherever you're going, it's going. And that's how I kind of look at MREs. This is what I want to have on me if that's the situation at hand. So that's my thought process on MREs. Let's talk about survival ration bars, because those are a very popular one and they have some benefits over MREs that MREs can't provide, but they also have some drawbacks too. All right, so let's talk about survival ration bars, and that's what I have right here in my center console. This is a UST survival ration, but of course there's many out there. Now these were developed for use by the Coast Guard or for the Navy, and it's what they usually put in lifeboats, and that's because it's very resilient to temperature changes, and it's ready to eat. It's very calorically dense, and it stores well. So why do I like these? Well, first off, this one bar has like 2,400 calories. So it has a lot to offer in the sense of caloric density. But the other thing to keep in mind is that they're very resilient to temperature changes. So I keep these in my vehicle and in my get home bag, which is also in my vehicle. So once again, we have emergency food that doesn't require any type of cooking or any additional resources like water, but it also can withstand temperatures between -22 and all the way up to about 150 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's pretty substantial, especially when you live somewhere like I do. And I've had this bar stored in this truck for quite some time. And then I also have one here in my get home bag, which is also in my truck. So these are great for that purpose, at least in my opinion. That's how I use these. These are vehicle and get home bag rations because of their ability to withstand those temperature swings, to not really be affected by freezing and thawing and everything else. And even getting up to those higher temperatures, of course, in a car, that could be a big deal. Now, these are kind of heavy, and there's a couple things about them that you might want to consider if you're going to use ration bars like these for preparedness. So first off, I always keep them in a Ziploc bag because once you open it, there's no way to keep the food inside of the wrapper. So once it's open, it's nice to have a bag to put it back in. So I do that for that reason. I also find that this kind of helps keep mice away and things of that nature, which we don't like to talk about here on this channel because I don't like those things. But anyway, so another problem that these have is that, they don't taste that great, which isn't really a big deal. We're just trying to survive here. We're not trying to have a gourmet dinner, right? But the thing that can definitely get you is that I've seen it go both ways, but generally if you eat a bunch of this, you're either going to not be able to go to the bathroom or you're going to need to go to the bathroom right away, like immediately. So that can be a problem, of course. So, I would suggest having some sort of anti-diarrheal in any kit you have on you when it comes to emergency preparedness for those reasons, but these bars can definitely induce some of that suffering, let's just call it. But for what they provide, lots of calories, they're very resilient. They have a 5-year shelf life, which means as long as you rotate these out, every 5 years, you don't really have to worry about them, which gives you a really good opportunity to just throw them in your vehicle, throw them in a get home bag, and not even think about them again until that one day where maybe you actually need it. So that's my approach to survival ration bars. I think they have their spot in a vehicle and a get home bag, and they do very well at that. Now, let's talk about freeze-dried meal packs. Welcome to my bug out location. Or not, since it's just a shed. But this is to demonstrate how I view freeze-dried food when it comes to my preparedness planning. Now this is some Peak Refuel, which is actually really good freeze-dried food. Actually, I like it quite a bit. And they have a base camp bucket here, which is nice because it lets you store a bunch of these different meals inside of it, and then it's good to go for, 25 years. This has the best shelf life out of any of the other food we've discussed so far. And it's very resilient too when it comes to temperatures, but it still wants to be stored in a decently cool environment. You never want a lot of heat when it comes to food, right? But it's not as susceptible to colder temperatures like the MREs and everything else. So, why are these so popular? Let's talk about that really quickly. People love freeze-dried food because it's extremely lightweight. You can carry a lot of it on you without much of a weight penalty, which is great because we need more food. You're always going to have to eat more. The problem with it is that it requires preparation for you to be able to eat it, and it requires outside resources as well. So in good times, when you're out hiking or camping and you want to have a good meal, of course, freeze-dried food like this Peak Refuel right here is an excellent option because there's no inherent danger of somebody lurking on you because you have a fire going or you're using a stove and you're having to boil water and everything else. But in a dangerous situation, that could change. And that's kind of why I look at this type of food as a cache style of food. Something I leave at other locations in order to make sure I have food upon arrival without having to worry about how long it can last or storing it properly or anything like that. I can just take it to my bug out location, leave it there, and I know that there's food there that will be good whenever I need to use it. So I find that to be kind of my favorite way to use freeze-dried food. The issue with it being something that requires preparation and outside resources, aka water. You'll see a lot of people throw these in their bug out bags or their assault packs or whatever you want to call it, even their get home bags or in their vehicle because they want to have that additional resource. But you have to ask yourself a few questions when it comes to that. First off, is it dangerous? If the answer to that is yes, then can you afford to build a fire or use a stove in order to boil water, which is required to rehydrate this food? Secondly, do you have water? If you have water on you, how much do you have? Is the water you have only enough to keep you hydrated, or do you have enough excess water as well to cook food and drink water? And if the answer to that is no, then where are you going to get more water, and will it be safe to do so? Because in a dangerous situation, which is what we're discussing, anywhere that there's water could also have danger, right? The watering hole is somewhere everything has to go to, predator and prey alike. So that's where the compromises come in on the freeze-dried food. Of course, it's the most expensive option as well. That's because it tastes good, it lasts a very long time, and it's very well nutritionally balanced. But if you're concerned about the possibility of a dangerous scenario, this could lead to some issues. And if you want to keep your pack light, that's great because it weighs almost nothing. But then how much water do you need to carry in order to rehydrate this food? And if you think you're just going to get more water in a dangerous situation, you might want to consider how that looks based on things that are happening in the world right now. So that's my approach to freeze-dried food. It goes to my bug out locations, it goes to static locations, it goes to it's at my home, right? Because it's not going anywhere, it lasts forever, and I know there's good food that's ready to go. Obviously, with the help of some water and some energy. But let me know in the comments below what you think regarding the different categories we discussed today. And let me know in the comments as well if you have different ideas as to how you approach these different survival food options when it comes to your preparedness planning. And add anything else that would have been a good idea to explore in the same fashion. And if you don't mind liking and subscribing and hitting the share button and all that good stuff, those are things I'm supposed to tell you to do. So there you are, we just did it together. Anything else at all you need from me, go to magicprepper.com. And besides that, it's going to be it for Magic Prepper.